Jujutsu Kaisen sequel is absolutely insane. In a 60-year timeskip, Yuta's marriage with Maki is confirmed, with their grandchildren becoming the new MCs. But that's not all. Aliens invade Earth to migrate 50,000 of their people to the planet. And on top of that, Yuji Itadori and SATORU freaking Gojo are name dropped as their legend lives on. So I'm here to break down everything in the new sequel, as the reading comprehension curse is at an all-time high since there are so many questions. Firstly, why is there a Jujutsu Kaisen sequel called Modulo? Well, when Gege Akutami first finished Jujutsu Kaisen, he revealed that he'd been getting tons of offers for spin-offs, but he always rejected them because manga is such a personal medium that once other people start writing in your world, it can quickly spiral out of control. Gege didn't want Jujutsu Kaisen to become diluted or misrepresented, but then came one unique proposal that changed his mind. Instead, Gege realized his idea could expand the main story setting without messing up the original JJK canon. That's how the sequel Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo was born. At first, it didn't even have a concrete direction, but after a series of planned meetings, Gege felt confident it could stand as a new entry point in its universe. He even handpicked Yuji Iwasaki, a rising star artist whose style Gege himself praised as superb. So whilst Gege confirms Modulo will only run for about 3 volumes, we can all celebrate that peak fiction has returned. Now, in the opening page of Jujutsu Kaisen sequel, a bombshell is immediately dropped. In the vast universe, aliens discover Earth in the year 2086. Their race is called Simurians, and their mothership carries 50,000 of their own, as they wish protection from Earth as they are refugees. The king of the Simurian race is informed of Japan, and in their data they believe the greatest power on Earth was meant to be the USA. But consulting America, they state diplomatic missions are recognized as Japan's responsibility. This is because in the original manga, within chapter 270, when America asked Japan about curse energy 60 years ago, Maki revealed that they need to save the soldiers who were in the US military by using Yuji and Hana to get rid of the cursed objects inside of them. She then explained that the entire world was witnessing Sukuna's fight with Gojo as Meme was broadcasting it. However, they eventually believed it was just a phenomenon that occurred in Tokyo. However, what about Tengen's barrier and Japan having a monopoly on cursed energy? They need to be upheld to keep the status quo, right? Well, in chapter 270, it revealed that Tengen is dead, but Sukuna's finger is playing the role of upholding the barriers since her remnants were found inside it. So as long as it's preserved, everything will be fine, given the fact that Sukuna's soul moved on in the samsara cycle to go north to be reborn as a good person, as seen in chapter 271. The 1/20th part of his soul within the final finger doesn't exist anymore, and since it's an indestructible cursed object as well, Yuji claimed everything is alright. This was a temporary solution that Gakuganji had mentioned, and they would have to figure out what to do afterwards. We will probably get the answer in this sequel. Now, as a result, the Simurian race then discover that there's a group of people in Japan that possess a similar power to themselves, and that's the ability to use curse energy, and they call themselves sorcerers. This is where a picture of Yuta and Maki's grandkids are shown, farming all kinds of aura as they embark on their journey to become the strongest. Now, after this epic introduction, the story rewinds a few years, showcasing Yuta Okkotsu speaking with his grandkid named Yuka. He is extremely close with her, having a loving relationship that the children of the original series only dreamed of having. Like, imagine Megami and having a dad like Koji. That shit ain't gonna happen anymore, right? This is just another way of showcasing the results of Yuji's generation upholding peace by annihilating the corrupt Jujutsu society and curses that plagued the world for far too long. As a result, Yuta got to go fishing with his kids, play games, and have peaceful walks in the beautiful scenery. But unfortunately now, you're gonna have to get the tissues out. Yuta dies. curse. With his death coming soon and they know it's gonna happen, he decides to pass on Rika's ring to Yuka because she's a little too mischievous and she really wanted it. We know this to be true from the glimpse of her we saw in the original manga in chapter 271.5. Because in the year 2080, 6 years prior to the sequel, we get to see Yuka was the one rummaging through Yuta's possessions and found Panda. But with the years passing by, Yuta now thinks it's time for Yuka to try her best to become a strong sorcerer, with the ring having the power to watch over her. Another 4 years pass by, and we learn Maki's Zenin had passed away, which resulted in Yuta getting weaker and weaker. She was the whole reason he had the idea of getting stronger and wanted to protect his friends. She was the reason he kept on living, and without her, that is all gone. His life force, his curse energy, his will to live goes away with it. No one ever thought Maki would be the one to die first as well. But in that grieving moment, on top of Yuta's coffin with everyone leaving the funeral, it's a sad moment, he's now passed, Yuka decides to become the strongest, just like he once was. However, Yuta's daughter, not his granddaughter, Yuka's mother, she asks for Rika's ring back, stating that her brother Tsurugi should receive it instead. She is not worthy of its power and has no right to own it. Now this is important to know, but the ring was registered into the Gojo clan storehouse. Remember, Yuta Okkotsu became the acting head of the Gojo clan because he is a distant relative through their shared ancestor Sugawara Michizane, and he was one of the strongest sorcerers, fitting the Gojo clan's tradition of selecting powerful individuals to become their leader. Eventually, we meet Tsurugi, who has received the ring despite Yuka's plea. She reminisces about all her training, hoping to become a worthy sorcerer that gains acknowledgement to receive the ring her grandpa entrusted to her. Meanwhile, we meet a new antagonist, where Gege is showcasing how times have changed. The villain is playing video games with a child, questioning the boy's psyche on his view of life, as in the value that he bestows upon it. This sets the seed of what we are about to see, as the villain claims if the child thinks death and violence are normal, then they would have no problem ending up as an energy source battery. Remember that Gege always said that the heart of Jujutsu Kaisen was about human perception of death, pain, and its value. Curses in the original story were born from negative emotions, the darkest sides of humanity. That's why Yuji's role as the protagonist mattered so much. He was a character who constantly wrestled with the question of what it means to live and die with meaning. Now, in the original manga, Yuji's entire philosophy was about valuing every human being no matter what role they played in the world. He felt extreme remorse for anyone that had to die by his hands, even for curses like Sukuna, who he gained sympathy for. Now in Modulo, Gege is showing us how that same theme evolves in time. The new antagonist isn't just some monster swinging fists, he's dissecting the mindset of modern society, using something as everyday as a child playing video games. The boy casually dismisses death, stating it's normal, because in his reality, life and violence is just entertainment. So in this new era, Modulo is tackling a different type of negative emotion. A world where death is normalized, where people are desensitized, and where the value of life is blurred. Now the human trafficker villain, what he's referring to is what we see in movies like The Matrix, where humans are used as an energy resource to power the world and make money. We learn the Japanese that have latent curse energy powers are getting kidnapped more than ever. Now in Kyoto, children especially have gone missing, and the police have not been able to catch wind of who is doing so, believing that sorcery is involved. That's why Yuta's grandchildren, now aged 16 and 17, they have joined Jujutsu High and have taken on the mission to help. Now this isn't some ass pull, you just have to connect the dots. In the original manga, the USA and China found out that curse energy was real. Kenjaku dropped a bombshell that cursed spirits exist, right? That's the reason the USA sent 800 of their military to join the culling game and kidnap Japanese sorcerers. That was the whole point in the first place, and they wanted to use Gojo's unlimited curse energy as an infinite resource. But guess what? 60 years later, it seems as though this idea has come to fruition, but for regular folk, as Japanese citizens fetch a high price on the black market. Now, whilst being briefed, they meet their third member, who is none other than an alien. His name is Malulu Valul Yeluru. His name is Malulu Valul Yeluvri. Malulu Valul Yeluvri. Yelovri? Yeah, Malulu Valul Yelovri. That's my best, guys. Now, with such a mouthful of a name, they assume that this alien is a human but is a foreign sorcerer. It was already mentioned in JJK chapter 136 that few sorcerers and curses appear overseas, and Yuka insinuates this once again. However, being an alien, learning the culture of humans and the customs of this world, Malu doesn't understand shit that's going on. But then, we get a huge reveal. Gege's sequel isn't just throwing in aliens for shock value. This reveal actually connects back to one of Jujutsu Kaisen's story of the theme of coexistence. In the original series, the big question was whether humans and curses could live side by side, or whether their relationship was doomed to be defined by destruction. Yuji embodied that struggle. He carried Sukuna but still believed in protecting people, constantly questioning whether monsters and humans could ever share the same world. Now, in Modulo, Gege has expanded that same dilemma into a cosmic scale. Malu, secretly representing the Simurian race, isn't here to conquer it. He's here to observe humans, to see if earthlings with powers can live in harmony with them. It's the same old question in the new era. Can beings born from a totally different world actually coexist? And this is where the Yuji parallels kick in once again. Yuta's granddaughter, Yuka, immediately channels that same energy, whilst everyone else ditches Malu the moment he says he won't interfere or be useful. Yuka treats him like an actual person. She offers him Japanese food, giving him a taste of culture, and that simple act breaks the barrier between them. She then vents about her brother, how they are at the same power level as sorcerers, but since Suguri's perception of hard work is easier to understand through his bodily workouts, they believe he is better suited as the next head. This hurts Yuka because her brother wasn't even close with Yuta Okkotsu, nor does he understand the sentimental value that ring has for her. She just wants to be strong and understood by her family, recognized as worthy. However, learning all of this, Malu the alien suggests they both finish the mission alone so that Yuka can get all the credit. And although it's against the rules, she goes ahead with the plan. They start to search for leads or any clues regarding the kidnapper, and they actually discover what's going on. Yuka figures out that the path people walk is imbued with the enticement of curiosity for the target to fall prey to the villain. It must be a barrier technique that captures children quite easily. Gege then drops a massive reveal that ties the sequel right back to Jujutsu Kaisen. We learn Mula has a twin brother, the same sinister figure that we saw on page 1 that was with the king. Now, unlike Mula, who's gentle and empathetic, his brother rejects him, belittles him as useless, and refuses to understand him. No matter how much Mula tries to bridge the gap, their relationship only spirals further into resentment. And this is where we can tell that Gege is absolutely cooking. This is a direct parallel to Yuji and Sukuna. Their relationship was built on conflict, Yuji trying to hold on to his humanity and Sukuna mocking him for it. Sukuna, he also had a twin brother, and in sorcery, twins are often frowned upon. Think about the Zenin clan where Mai and Maki's bond was treated as a curse that stunted their growth, or the way sorcerer society associates twins with imbalance and a omen, right? So Mula's fractured relationship with his twin reflects all of this. His pain and not being understood is exactly what Sukuna went through with society, as he was labeled the Fallen instantly upon birth. This meant Yuji's final battle was a clash of ideals, where Sukuna was forced to acknowledge the lesson that he taught him. Mula's story is just the same but reimagined. He sympathizes with Yuka because she too is wrestling with family tension. Just like Yuji once tried to solve the impossible problem of coexisting with Sukuna, Mula wants to solve his own bond with his twin and the alien race migrating to Earth as refugees. Now, Yuka's response to Mula is pretty interesting. She states, "Don't push your ideal shape of sibling relationships onto me. This is a problem that will repeat again and again." But as we all know, just like Megami, Yuji, and the others, this is just a story setting up a lesson for her to learn after getting into Jujutsu. Eventually, they meet up with Sugiri and close in on the barrier technique's location. They set up tape, but before they know it, a child is already running through it, enticed by the villain's technique. Now it's too late, and we get this sick panel of a curse grabbing him with its hands and teleporting him away. This makes them realize that the sorcerer they're dealing with must be pretty skilled, and Sugiri then states they should go report this and he will go in alone. But before they know it, he too is teleported. The katana is left behind because it's a cursed tool. The barrier repels anything that has a high level of energy to prevent sorcerers from destroying their plan. However, interestingly, we learn Sugiri has a heavenly restriction just like his grandmother Maki and Toji. Toji was born with literally zero curse energy completely cut from it, but the trade-off was that his body was pushed to the absolute peak of human potential. Maki eventually reached this level of power after losing mine. Their reflexes, muscle control, strength, and speed, it reached levels that made them a natural predator for sorcerers and curses. And I guess that's why the manga does a pun about the hunter now becoming the hunted. But this also gives us some insight that Sugiri can reach special grade quite easily, especially since he has the entire arsenal of the Gojo clan storage, which has many special grade curse items with unique powers. Anyway, Mula then gets pissed that giving up on your ideals is for when you get wounded and actually try. There is no need for Yuka to feel embarrassed when she hasn't. So since he won't give up on his twin, she shouldn't either. And guess what? She says, nah, I won't go save him. Instead, she will show her resolve by punching him. This is where the scene cuts to our new antagonist who has Tsurugi captured. Kyoto was perfect for his barrier technique since it's a city built like a grid. Tsurugi claps back that he must be stupid to do such a crime where the headquarters of sorcery resides. But none of that shit matters to this villain. He's going to give up the human trafficking business soon because he has discovered that aliens have arrived on Earth. We then learn some insane history through him, and that is Gojo's generation of students, they all became legends. 68 years ago, after the Culling Game, a treaty that I mentioned early in the video was signed for Japan to deal with any sorcery type activity. Now SATORU, freaking Gojo, and Yuji Itadori, they're regarded as great men who possess phenomenal power that restored order to the world. However, right now, with the generations going by, sorcerers have only gotten weaker and weaker. So the idea of using them as an energy source in business, it's also dwindling out. This resulted in the worth of Japanese people dropping, much like a stock on a market. So our villain is deciding to make one last sale before he bows out by cashing in Sugiri. We then get this insane panel of all the kids he's captured in product bags. And again, for those of you that have seen The Matrix, Altered Carbon, or any cyberpunk-esque show, this is a common practice. Like, take a look at this. I definitely feel like JJK took some inspiration. Anyways, our MC states that he's pathetic, not being able to get proper work, relying on kids for their money, whilst of course he's getting whacked in the face multiple times. The enemy states the more he speaks to children, the more he hates them. He starts going JoJo on my guy, smacking beating him up non-stop whilst giving him a lecture about his views. The land they're fighting on is basically a symbol of neglect and collapse from a past era that Yuji, Yuta, Maki, Megami and all them lived in. They can't live up to that past era anymore, they're not around, right? But as he beats him up to a pulp, Yuka arrives with the alien blasting the door open. The way they found him was through Mula's unique ability. Since they are connected by blood, Mula can harmonize their existences together to a balance, which will then give them a signal on his location. Now before Mula can scream out that they will save the children, Yuka interrupts, challenging her brother. They begin fighting each other in a sibling rivalry in the middle of a mission, making it quite a dysfunctional family, and it runs in their bloodline, I guess, you know what I'm saying? They are part Zenin, part Gojo, so yeah. Now remember that earlier we found out that they are on equal footing in terms of power, but there's an inferiority complex within both our MCs. Even so, Sugiri does a left-right good night, coming out victorious against his sister. Yuka then remembers his training. Bro is lifting and swinging around 140 kg on his sword like it's bloody nothing. Obviously the heavenly restriction is putting in the work, but that's just insane for a 17-year-old to do. So wallowing in pity, Yuka then directs her attacks to the villain instead, imbuing her curse energy trait into the fist, similar to what Hakari or Kashima would do. She then activates her dog bite claws, farming aura to kill the villain. However, he laid a trap beforehand, which allows him to teleport with his weapon, instantly gaining the upper hand. But eventually, her bro joins the fight with his katana, where the sparks created are carried onto the blade, making it stronger. He then tells his sister that he's proud that she's gotten stronger, and because of that, he will work even harder. Now, this is where we learn something very important, and you need to concentrate. We learn that in contrast to Yura having a close relationship with Yuta Okkotsu, Sugiri was close to Maki Zenin instead. He was always stuck by Maki's side, playing with her, capturing wild snakes, and even fixing his boo-boos. Eventually, Maki would inform him that they are the same. This chapter shows us a very telling moment between the two, and it immediately sets up the contrast with Yuta and Yuka's relationship. Maki has always been defined by loss, her heavenly restriction, the Zenin clan's rejection, and most of all, Mai's death. Her entire philosophy is that strength is born from sacrifice. It's an equivalent exchange at the cost of deep personal pain, right? And that's exactly what she passes on to her grandson, Sugiri. She tells him to lose something will become your strength, but that blade will also harm you. It's a lesson forged in trauma, teaching him that his worth comes from enduring suffering. Then comes the symbolic moment with the ring. She justifies her decision by stating, Sugiri, you don't need it because you're already strong. Now for Yuka, the ring was given as a gift of love, a charm of protection that made her feel chosen by Yuta. But for Sugiri, it's forced onto him as a decree of the Gojo clan, not something that he wants, but something he's told he needs, with the chilling line, your will doesn't matter. So you're probably wondering, what does this mean, ABD? I don't understand. The reading comprehension curves, everything, right? Okay, basically, what was once a symbol of compassion for Yuka, it has now become a symbol of oppression for Sugiri, turning the same object into two completely different legacies. And this is exactly where tension brews between the two grandchildren. It's easy to see how this small difference in understanding and the lessons taught to them in their childhood, it would grow into resentment, a rivalry, and conflict between the two. That is why Sugiri then declares he will gain acknowledgement through his own means by becoming strong. He was trained by Maki after all, and they will realize he doesn't need the ring, so he will hold onto it until the time comes, so Yuka will have to wait. But eventually, it's revealed that they have won the fight. However, the trafficker hasn't given up yet. He connects his energy to every child that he has captured, intending to teleport all of them away with him. And then that's when the truth is finally revealed. Mula's third eye pops out, knocking him out instantly and saving the day. That's when our MCs discover that the rumors are true. Aliens have arrived on Earth. Now I will be covering this manga weekly, explaining answering all questions like, was Sukuna an alien? What was his backstory with Master Tengen? What are these alien powers? I'm gonna cover it in depth just like I did the original manga. So to enjoy more peak fiction regarding Jujutsu Kaisen, watch this video on your screen right now.